Okay, this will be a quick one on just showing you specific game theory models that you're carrying in your head that you don't realize that you do. Uh, Before I get into it, congratulations go out to True Puka and Wrestling Jesus with their excellent work on their gaming cycles. All I can tell you is that was good work. I guess congratulations ought to go out to Max Kaiser for starting some serious shit and actually mentioning game theory. So there you go, people. The impact you have is solely derived from the work you put into it. And if you don't put fictional work into it and you put real work into it, why, wouldn't you know, that boulder gets moved wherever you want it to get moved. Most of the time you can put a finger to it, and the rest of the time you got to have help. Alright, so since my shot was to do balance, correct? Because you got a lot of kooks, man. The kookery is going, damn near off the cliff, and people have decided in some sectors to step up and do their fucking jobs and their duty. And the ones that they choose to do, the individuals out here that just say, fuck this. This is not going to get out of hand, All right. Anyway, that being said, there you go, gentlemen. Also, congratulations, or actually just a thank you to Pontifex, because he did a set of videos. A Lebowski video at the bowling alley, and another longer one that I enjoyed. We're all getting there, gentlemen. We're all getting there. So, basically, if you didn't know, for those of you that do know, I've been proceeding with Operation In-N-Out Burger for quite some time. There was only 3 people that I even talked to about it, but it's obviously done the work that it was required to do. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. Part of it was over... Alex Jones. Alex Jones is running a fairly sloppy model, as you'll notice that when you begin to do serious gaming, right, and you start positioning pieces, right. When you pick a how would you say it? When you pick somebody that's doing obvious fictional bullshit in an attempt to drive or split or dominate or universally just fuck everything up. What you also have to remember that when you go against them, you get backblast. All right, because the more desperate they get as they lose position, they'll throw more and more fiction at you because they have no position at all. Okay, so you have to remember that. I told you, people, it's okay. Let's take, for example, if you believe in God, that's fine. You never speak of a thing you never want to speak of. True Puka is going to show quite a few people, atheists and Christians, on what not to fucking say when they decide to pick a fucking fight or start shit. Okay? So he's getting ready to be a monster if he wants to be, just like Wrestling Jesus. You pick the fact that you can work off of, and it's got to be a hard fact. It can't be wishy-washy, right? It's got to be a hard fact. You work off of it, and everything else evaporates and diffuses. Okay? All right. So that's, well, obviously people are using game theory now to get where they're wanting to go, and the good thing is the people that don't want to invest time in it and just want to start shit with each other will never... they have the capability, but they don't have the comprehension to have tight self-control when they use game theory. Okay? All right. Now, that's why corporatized game theory fails as much as it does. I know they'll say differently, but the point is the academia and corporatized game theory models fail as often as not because they're so highly fictional and derived strictly from very basic presumptions. They've forgotten their own presumptions they built it on in an attempt to do the lonely robot or whatever you want to call it. It's just there's more than one game theory model there. But the point is, moved out of the way, those fictions hold no water. And so if you're doing panopticonic game theory, see, it's a different deal. You're plotting what possibly could be. You're not attempting to arbitrarily define the other player. Okay, all right. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of time. You have to study the opposing player, if you will. Every single fucking word out of your mouth's got to be thought about. You know, you have to look at it and think about it, put the words together with a sentence. Also, another new model that they're running is that old Latin is dead, so the translations you can't do that. That's bullshit. Old Latin never died. By the way, Latin has nothing to do with the Roman Empire, in case you were wondering. Okay, just in case you're wondering, all right, who do you think Rome took over? Rome took over the Latins. Dun, 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 dun. Though I do need to do some more working out when you get if you get bored and you decide that you're going to start actually reading books. You have to deal with Latin, and you cannot use the bullshit newer versions. Okay, because there are at least 3 levels of Latin: high, mid, and low, or what they call, completely screwed up, they call it old and new and dead. Okay, well, there's a reason they're telling you it's dead. They don't want you to go read an old book in the dead way. Correct. If you were to read, let's take, let me think, Treatise on or Presumption, Fiction, and Fact, that book by Bill Best. If you were to take that and pull the Latin out and look at it, that's all you think. That's all New Latin. No, you have to remember English is Latin. Okay, this is the language game theory. Okay, the deal is you and I on the street only slightly modify it. We don't take it off into an absolute new language. We tend to solidify and staticize, but keep it slightly dynamic by adding stupid words to it, right? And if the other party doesn't understand it, we stop using a word in between each other in a community. That's real simple, okay? Now, on the other side, you got to remember there's guys that were game theory specialists, Plato, Pliny, all these other people, that were also sitting there, well, emperors and everything else, going, well, we got to modify the language. We got to get them away from that type of thinking, and one way of doing it is to also use language, okay? That's why they had academia models, right? They always try to, this is another model, the quote, magic of science, right? Which is, they'll always tell you that science came out of a government or out of an academia model when it never did. So natural sciences, right, that have nothing to do with social reconstruction or any of that bullshit, came from the bottom up. It was a dude out in the field going, I need to build a better gate, so I'm going to build those crazy gates that lift up on when you open them on either way, anyway, or horse treadmills for horsepower. People in their backyards did that, kids, not some asshole working for the government. I know the government wants to claim it all, there's a reason they do that, but at the end of the day, a lot of your ideas have no owner at all, because the people that rip them off are the corporations. And then they attempt to say, I am the originator of this thing or that thing. Okay? Most ideas begin somewhere and get passed around, and then somebody else looks at it and says, aha, profit and money. That's all there is to it. So I know people want to say Ford was the first to do his shit. No, he wasn't even remotely the first to do his shit. But that's that. I'm not going to go into that part of it. But anyway, on the law of languages, you'll begin to see that in the legal maxims, the longer pages and pages of legal maxims, in the New Latin, it was designed to keep you out of it. Even if you got a hold of the book, you would look at the Latin and say, I can't read Latin, fuck this, and you throw it away. Well, I've kind of already showed you the really important stuff is hidden there, and it's hidden there for a reason. Now, the newer guys, and the jurisdictionary guy is actually correct. He is. I give him his credit. I haven't listened to him a long time, though, and I never did, actually. But the point is, when you look at that's why they don't use Latin anymore. The reason they don't use Latin anymore in the, quote, legal law, unquote, is because they've already set all the bullshit fictions and presumptions that you run on. And I do not mean stacking fictions and presumptions in a fictional, presumptive, constructive jurisdiction court that's doing transitory trespass. Okay, that's that has nothing to do with the reality. And the reality is they moved away from that because they had already built the fictions and the presumptions, and they had already moved you off that track and onto another one. In general. And in order to infect you with it, they have to talk you into constantly using bar associates and academia. Okay, that's a very simple, well-known tactic that's always been used by governments. Every government, even the strictest of governments, said, hell yeah, we'll do that. Right? It's an obvious tool to use. Okay, so that being said, and I'm tired while I'm doing this, so just bear with me. When you jump back and you look at the Latin that they were using before they magically abolished the legal common law in their corporations, that is the new Latin. So let's say you pick up the book. That's encryption 1 if you can't read it. You look at it and throw it in a pile. Fuck it, I can't read it. The second level of encryption is when you look at the passage that's in Latin and you notice that the English translation does not match the new Latin. You have a passage that's in Latin and the author right behind it says this is the translation, and they don't match. There's a reason for that. That's right. All right, so you're sitting there going, Now, some can be put down as ignorance because they had changed Latin. I mean, you're in like the 25th version of English Latin. You just have to get the fuck over that. That's what this is. You're speaking Latin right now. So am I. They call it English. All right? Okay. I guess they call it English because they decided to change the Roman Empire's name. Correct? Or do we not know how this works? I told you they keep playing musical chairs. This is one of the deals. All right? Okay. Now, so that's the second level, is that you look at the Latin and you might be able to read Latin, but you don't catch what it says. You'll translate it, but you won't catch that the translation that he did does not match, so you'll take his word for the translation. It's an old game, and there was a video I watched here not too long ago, a couple of days ago, about stacking presumptive footnotes at the end of a book. Okay, to have you accept that the author said this, here's a footnote that backs him up, and you hit the footnotes, and guess what? There is no such book, or the book says nothing like what the author says. Okay, so you have to remember that. Okay? Now, moving along here. So, the third encryption is when you actually catch that the legal maxim or the story that they're saying doesn't match the author's translation. Okay, and you translate it in New Latin and only change one or two definitions. Okay, I'm not going to go into specific words. You can see it. I've even screwed up once or twice when I did it. All right, according to the system, that's where it stops. There is no other language other than the New Latin. Okay? Then you've got the middle, the Middle Ages Latin. I'm a little real fuzzy on this stuff. The point is, then you jump in and take the New Age Latin and pull it apart, and you'll see the Old Age. The so-called, quote, dead Latin, unquote. When you translate a new Latin phrase, paragraph, etc., into Old Latin, you'll get 3 times as much story. Okay? Now, I showed that on Wager of Law. Okay? I did that in the Wager of Law. And they get pissed off when you do that. Well, that's just too fucking bad. All right? It was written originally. Those stories were written in old fucking Latin, so don't screw with me. The higher levels use old fucking Latin, kids. Get over it. All right? Like the dollar bill, annuit septus novus ordo seclorum, is old Latin. They want you to think it's new Latin. Okay? And they literally make up words. Okay? Now, I get people really want to look at it another way. All I'm saying is it's not nearly as hard as you think it is. And the only people that could read and write in the old Latin days were dudes that spoke old Latin. So I'm not going to trust some dude who's the only one that designed the books to scam me. All right, but you got to remember, it wasn't actually a scam, because I'm going to get into the other game model, and it'll be for Pontifex and a couple of others of you, okay? Because you're not quite seeing it yet, or I'm just going to tell you what I think about it. How about that? Okay. Whether you see it that way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're an individual. But I'm going to show you another way of looking at it, because I'm going to show you another model besides that. So I'm not going to trust the old asshole that wrote it in old Latin, told me I'm too stupid to read, correct? And then later got bored and changed it to new Latin because I figured it out. That's all that is, kids. When it didn't work the old way, they changed the language. They started shoving old Latin words together in order to make it look like it was a different language. And then they proclaimed mightily, old Latin, be dead, damn it, when it never was. How can something die that's fictional anyway? So there you have it. If you mean by I can decree the thing dead, good for you. That doesn't mean I won't do it and translate it that way. And I'm sure I've just pissed off a whole bunch of language people. Seriously. I'm sorry. Get over it. Your view of it is irrelevant to me. Okay? All right. That's all there is to it. So, moving along, let's go into... I'll save the good model that'll piss everybody else, all of you off. It's what they do. It's why it was designed. And I'm going to pay back the historical experts when I do that. But I had a message to me on Kelly Thomas, and it was about communist pigs. Communist pig officers murder Kelly Thomas. And I want you to see, and nobody ever fucking listens. They watch 3 seconds of video and immediately scream, fucking pig. Okay. Obviously, I've attempted to show how piss ignorant a bunch of people are. Okay? And it just amazes me that they chop up. Well, one of the games is they'll chop the first part of the video up, so you'll never get to see not what the officers did, but what the dude did. Like running his fucking mouth. Okay? Dishonoring. That's all this comes down to. If you're so fucking stupid you can't watch your mouth when a dude walks up and says, hey, what about this? Well, with no knowledge of the law, you're fucked. So that's not my problem. Because this leads into the next model, and I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay? Now, Psycho Driller knows my work. Pontifex, Corey Sear, any of y'all other people you don't. So the real world work that I've done, there ain't nobody kicking in my door, and just I'm going to tell you the basics here in just a second. Anyway, over them beating Kelly Thomas to death, they always cut the fronts of these videos off so you won't see what happens in order to shove the emotional caltrop model on you, which is they throw out a board with a rusty nail on it, and you don't see the first part of it and step on the fucking nail and start screaming and hollering about how unjust it is. Well, that's fiction and presumption. They're setting you up for the fall. That's all it is, okay? When you should have been said, I don't live there. I imagine his family needs to take care of that, and so do the courts. You got to remember, people are trying to drag you into an argument in order to piss you off, in order for you to pick a side that doesn't exist because you don't live there. Wherever he lived at, his daddy and them need to fucking take care of it. But I can tell you, I watched fucking video and a retarded motherfucker run his mouth to John Law. That's all there is to it. He ran his fucking mouth and then decided he was going to get, what was it, combative in his way. Once John Law said, I'm tired of listening to your shit. Here we go. You know what I mean? And then he tries to make a run for it. It's a standard fucking game theory model that's inside your fucking heads because you do not think about what you're fucking doing. The instant thing you do is two things, fear and anger. The reason for that is it's a bottom basement 3-year-old child model. You might even say it's a natural model. Okay? It's a natural model in your brain. Your brain's a hard drive. Your mind is what your brain presents data that it can, it holds, and it presents it to the mind. And your mind goes, I've got to pick some of these options. Well, if you have a fucked up mind, correct, because you never grew up, literally, because there are chunks of data missing for your brain. So your brain just, when you ask your brain, I need information on this subject right fucking now, your brain goes, option 1, combat. Option 2, run away. Well, try doing both at once, right? That's correct. The military does behavior modification. Okay, MK Ultra is still ongoing. They changed the name. It is behavior modification. That is how a man can go do a job like shooting people from a mile away and not have a problem with getting the job done. Because he was presented with a model which is stuck in his fucking brain, so when something happens, it's instant. Now your brain says, option C. Don't do that there. Stand back and shoot him from a half mile away. You eliminate options A and B. It's a hard way for me to explain it to you, but it's the way I would like to explain it. Okay? And psychologists are absolutely no fucking help because of what they're doing is digging in your mind, and they're doing behavior modification because you're literally a child. That was the game theory. That was the Prisoner TV series. Correct? Now, that was the prisoner dilemma. That's right, Max Kaiser. The reason they consider you a child is because if you create the models for yourself and put them in your own brain, you're able to retrieve them with your mind and do what you need to get done. That's why you say, well, some people are really good at talking themselves out of or talking somebody else into something, a shyster, right? Well, the reason is they figured out bottom basement, instead of a 2-year-old, they're a 4-year-old. And they're saying, I want to talk you into doing it. I'm going to bullshit you. Okay, that's what that is. That's all that is. They've made models in their own head. That's what I said. You're carrying game theory in your head. That's bottom basement because you're supposed to be bottom basement. They don't teach you anything worth a fuck. At school, they teach you how to be a better meat robot. By now, you should know this. That began before the schools began. That's a real easy model, man. All right, moving on. And I'm going to tell you a 7-step model for Kelly Thomas. Watch the video. I don't care if you disagree or not. I don't give a shit. And I'm sure somebody will comment, and I'll ban your ass if you run your fucking mouth without putting any time or effort into your fucking head, right? If you're not going to invest no time and effort, then get the fuck gone. Don't waste my time. And this is the basic model. It's just 7 steps, and it's the same fucking thing. Be it people pulling you over, or any of this shit. It's you, the unit, the meat robot does the same fucking thing every time. And I keep seeing this going, what the fuck, dude? You said the wrong magic words. And John Law cracked you on the fucking head. All right? Now, the standard model I keep seeing is 1, cop asks a question or makes a statement. That's all he does. Short of you committing a physically violent crime, he never demands. Okay. The second step, the second part of the model. Now, this is a 2-party model. This is a game that they're doing. Basic. Okay? On both sides. the second side, the kook automatically dishonors whoever approaches him, but especially a cop, because dickheads out here they're not cops, they're pigs, right? You get the point, right? Have you ever thought why the guy's saying that shit? Maybe because he's a coke dealer? All right, anyway, maybe because he stole some shit and he's mad because he got caught. That's the models are really easy, and you can define a person fairly quick by what they say. They intend on saying it for a reason, especially on YouTube, because it lacks a type of accountability that's really cool and really bad. But anyway, one, the cop asks a question or makes a statement. That's all he does. He's waiting on your response, your reply. The second part of that is the kook always dishonors. Always. Every fucking time. Like, fuck you, you can't, I want, everything except, I apologize. What is it exact? Right, okay, no, they never do that shit. They never do that shit. They try to tell him, you don't know the law, I know the law. Oh, but boom, dishonor, out that goes. Next, please, you know, and all the kook will do is just keep presenting and stacking fictions, presumptions, and dishonors. Okay, now, step 3, cop gets tired of the shithead, right, and moves into demand mode. Now, demand mode is, you've just fucking pissed me off. You literally are so goddamn stupid you can't act like a non-meat robot. You know what I mean? Come with me, meat robot. And step 4 is kook goes into the defensive model, almost combative, right? Getting ready to go into defensive combat, but continues to run his fucking mouth, right? But not with anything important. It's just slamming fictions like, fuck you, you're a pig, right? And you're going, damn, dude, really? That's not going to get you out of anything. Or he goes higher antagonism with, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know the law. This ain't the fucking law. It's wrong answers. Those ain't the magic words, motherfucker. And I know for a fact in the real world. I ought to know because I've done this, unlike most of you. All of you, in fact. All right. A few people do know what I really do. Anyway, so Kelly Thomas kept to the fucking script. Whatever that fucking weird-ass meat robot script is, he kept to it. Once after they do that defensive model, the cop says on number 5, the 5th step, he always says, I give. Fuck that. Come here, dummy. I'm going to, whatever. Prepping for the offense. Prepping to go into offensive mode while the kook's in defense. A defensive/offensive model. And step 6 is the kook continues to start shit, then stops when he realizes that the cop is going into offensive mode and realizes he ran his fucking mouth too far. So, if he'd have watched his mouth in the beginning, he would have never ran his mouth too much. Okay. And they figure out at that point in time, here comes the fear. Wham! Oh shit, I've run my mouth too fucking much. Here comes my ass beating. And in every single instance, they attempt to make a run for it. They attempt to make a run for it. That's right. And step 7's easy. The kook is unsuccessful. That's how easy this game, that model with those two players, with a specific game theory that was given to them from the start. They're playing their, quote, roles, unquote, because they don't have any models outside of that. When it comes into a, quote, confrontation, unquote. Okay. So it's the same fucking game plan every time, and the kook loses every fucking time. All right. But anyway, moving on. The reason this all wraps up into the last model here that I'm going to give you is it's simple, super fucking simple. The last 2,000 years have been set up by Rome via England to us. It's designed for kids. It's literally designed for children, no matter how old you think you are. Now, that's proved out because of the legal presumption that, I'll have to dig it out, but it doesn't matter, other than they're telling each other how they see it. And I keep coming across this, which is the Son of Man, the children of God, the children, the infant may renounce his employment. Okay, but if he stays, he's a majority. Well, majority doesn't make you a grown-up. It means you're still an infant. A majority of infants is still a shitload of preschool kids. And I'm sitting there thinking, aha, that's what it was. The entire fucking run for the last 2,000 years is them building a government and prepping the laws, the society, and everything else, because they got to have you pissed off, and only a kid would be pissed off enough to go kill somebody for some basic, real weird, fictional transgression, right? Like, you hurt my feelings in Iran. It's something along those lines. At least now they're attempting to say, well, it is actually for resources. Well, it's not. You don't need the resources. America's big enough that if you went back to everybody growing their own garden, literally, you have enough land to take everybody out of the cities and spread them evenly across. They'd grow their own food. So let's knock all that out, and the tech is now actually getting advanced. Through us, people trying, you, me, everybody else, trying to advance the tech for a more free energy. Okay, production in myriads of different ways. Okay, getting away from the shit trash models. Now, the reason they don't want that is because you will not go do what they want. Literally, you won't go invade South America. This is not westward expansion, kids. You were told to go west. Thank you, Reverend Billy Talon, for finally saying it. They wanted you to go west, and they kept forcing you to go west. They'd run you out of town to make you go west. They would outlaw you, ban you, do something to you, get you the fuck out. You go west. The population moves west. You take over other people's shit, trying to get away from them. And then one day you run out of room. Okay, well, the Roman Empire never did fall, not in my opinion. It just played musical chairs and did the basic renaming conventions. Okay, let's rename everything. We have kings now. Stuff like that. Anyway, moving along. It's just a renaming convention. The basic children's Ponzi's, all the different Ponzi's, law, language, everything else, gets rebooted. Bam! And you're in a new system. Okay, just magically. Bernie Mandeville talked about it extremely brutally, and that's why I like Bernie Mandeville. Well, I don't like it. What I'm saying is he was right. Okay, how about that? All right, well, he's not the only one, and he was new, and that was in 1705, and they were just simply revamping the models. Okay, we got to do this. Okay, we got to get away from that model, that colony model, and we got to change this. Right, we got to change this. A for defense, B for magic prosperity, who decides does what, where, and stuff. And then, boom, it takes off, and it's a snowball that goes downhill, and the expansion just explodes. Bam! Well, everybody's expanded. Now you've got this. Where the fuck you going to go? Well, that's easy. Let's just listen to what everybody else up top says. Let's go to Iran, let's go to Iraq, and let's go to Afghanistan. It's simply empire expansion to empty this motherfucker here so you won't rebel and burn him to the ground. However, that's cool with them if you decide to burn them to the ground, because they are not children. They're reading out of old fucking books coming out of Rome that explain the fucking game plan, dude. Alright? It's real fucking simple. And I mean the people that don't get on TV and talk, the motherfuckers that are quiet in the background. They're reading out of the old books. And the old books are, the old books are really fucking simple. You ain't in the equation, son. You don't run jack shit. So, since the government literally here was designed, as Washington proved by setting it up and running away, going home, and sucking his own tit in that regard, him and his buddies, it leaves you having to do the work. All right? You have to do the defense. You have to do it. You got to pony up. And your rewards is a so-called magic free government. All right, we get all that. That's just the basics. I didn't say the models weren't interesting or valid because all the models have worked to a degree. Most didn't work very long, only because shysters, the government draws shysters like moths to a flame. The functionally retarded that are just smart enough to start system gaming. Okay? And they think they're intelligent but only because it's the shyster's game. He thinks he's beat you, and I guess in a perceptual way, he says, oh, I beat him. I got power. And I hate to tell you, these people, a lot of these people say, I'm doing it for the betterment of all. Well, why are you on my TV, motherfucker? That don't do nothing. Well, I got to be on. No, you don't got to be on TV. You got to do your fucking job. So if you're not doing your fucking job, but you are on TV, it means you're fucking shyster. You want me to agree somehow with you when you don't do anything. Correct? Correct. So, when you look at it, but at that time, even I got to sit back and say, hey, the social cohesion, there it is. There it is. If you ain't got the dog and pony and the shysters out front, you don't got social cohesion and everybody dies. Which one do you want? You want a real rebellion, a real uncontrolled rebellion? Well, you're not going to win. Somebody will. The real hardcore fucking psychopathic kooks will. You won't. Because you won't go all the way to the wall. You won't turn groups on groups. You won't use game theory to stop some of this, right? They, on the other side, even the little kook con man on the street is smart enough to start fucking shit up if it went to a real uncivilized civil war, right? It would get way out of fucking hand quick, which is why you look and you see, that's why they instituted those educational game theory models for people in their heads. Is to stop that shit. They'll never know it was not their own idea, but they'll always follow that linear path that we designed. You can't see the forest for the fucking trees because, well, ain't none of it there. But number two, you'll never question the basics. Never question even the basics. So, the government was designed for children. They say so daily. At what point in time, if I can prove it ain't mine, I didn't build it, and I do not even have to say, fuck you, I quit, because I'm not a part of it to begin with. Now, if I can prove those things, which I have time and time again, at what point in time would I rebel against it because you don't like something? What that means is you want your cut, but you want me to go kill people for it. Now, be careful. Be real careful. All right. An individual would say, if you want your cut, go get your cut. You got to do the work your own fucking self. Leave me alone. Now, if a Chinaman comes through here to decide to whack us all out, even though you're a kook, me and you got to get together and whack the Chinaman, and then we'll go back to doing what we were doing, which is you leave me alone and I leave you alone. It's not nonviolence. I believe in absolute fucking violence. Instantaneous compliance and fear. It's an excellent model. It's got you this far, kids. All right. So, with that in mind, right? Okay, the old dishonor models, honor, dishonor. If you dishonor me and I instantly drop the fucking hammer to you for real in the street, that just kind of eliminates a lot of problems of somebody else coming through and fucking you, right? And you not having no help, right? That's because I'm out here going, all you got to do is say, come help me, and I'll come over there, right? Right, okay. Now, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people try to turn this into, well, the government's not taking my shit. People, they're not kicking in my fucking door, and they're not taking my shit. Get over yourselves. They're not. If they came in, they kicked in your door, that's your fucking problem. You need to deal with it in your fucking town. And you're not going to deal with it in your town if you're on YouTube bitching because somebody kicked in your fucking door. Why ain't you dealing with John Law? Why ain't you learning the law? Dun-dun-dun-dun. And you'll say, but protests, or we need to talk it out. I don't need to talk any fucking thing out. I don't. I've already done my work. All the work that y'all are going to do, I've already long since fucking done, and so has Psychodrill and the others. We've already done it, and we're done, right? We're done. We're not opting out because we were never in, and we can prove it. Okay? Well, not just Psychodriller, but there's other people, and they walked out. Now, people are going to get pissed at me because I don't want to play their game. And you're literally saying I can whack him because he don't want to fucking play. Even though he'll help defend me, fuck him. We're going to kill him. We're going to run his ass off because he don't want to play. Now, as Pontifex correctly said, if there's a service and you use it, you pay for it. As an individual, if you owe a man, you fucking pay. If John Law recovers stolen shit, I pay John Law. It's real fucking simple now, ain't it? All right? If I drive down the fucking road, I, as an individual, have to figure out how to pay the fucking county some type of tax to pay their fucking workers. People don't work for free, dumbasses, even if you're an individual. So that's got to be taken care of, and you have to do it. There is no standardized model. And again, you don't opt out of something you were never fucking in. Okay? Now, all that being said, once you do that part of it, you're allowed the latitude to take care of any of your own private stuff as you see fit. But again, even Rome knows this. I'm not even going to go into that. That's how little research people do, and they assume and presume every fucking thing. And they refuse to look at the reality. Now, I cannot stop any butthurt about, I want you to do it my way. Well, you'll just get the fuck over it, because out of the two of us, I'll shoot your ass in the middle of a fucking street. That's it. You won't. I already know you won't. You'll scream Second Amendment or some shit. Doesn't matter. Okay? That's all there is to it. All right, so that's what I'm saying. You're coming to a time where, and I'm telling you now, for the individuals that actually figure it out, when they get done with it, right, when they get to the end of their path and go, aha, finally, I think I got it. Well, you're not done yet. There's a whole bunch more. There's a whole bunch more. I don't fucking know, and I'm attempting to hammer it the fuck out. I just don't talk about it on here because there's no reason to, right? Like I said, I've moved way on. Y'all are doing your stuff in your way. If you want to get together and hammer out another fucking constitution, get to it, son. If you want to do this or do that, get to it, son. And I don't give a fuck. Just as long as it don't impact me. All right? Because that's not freedom if it does. But anyway, that being said, I got to be held accountable if I fuck something up. I got to be held accountable. So out goes all your bullshit. I'm going to have John Law, and I'll take John Law the old way, the old law. That's all there is to this shit. And he don't work for fucking corporations. He works for the commons, you know, everybody. So no favoritism occurs. Now, I know why they did do the corporate model, and it's to tie the sheriffs to them so the sheriff couldn't just get out of hand, because sheriffs did. Sheriffs did all the fucking time. It gets crooked and corrupted, and groups invade and infiltrate. And that type of shit can get out of hand. But there again, that's where an individual would step out and say, hey, this is not going to work. Somebody's going to have to get croaked and strung from a tree. And then that shit will stop. You get my point? But it means if you're not going to do the fucking work, then you can't possibly bitch when it all goes tits up and fucking south of cheddar cheese. You know what I mean? So I'll take John Law running the fucking streets and getting paid. I'll take that. I'll take that. As far as the law goes, I'll be the judge of that, not you. Not in my town. I'll be the fucking judge of that. Me and these other people will be the fucking judge of that. If you want to make marijuana legal where you live, get on it. But it ain't going to be here. And you just got to get the fuck over that. I don't care how many presidents you want to do it, you know. There's other ways. Y'all don't evidently know the old way. And I'm telling you, I've never got to see it when I was a kid, but I've heard guys that done it. And when they strap your ass to a rail and they ride you the fuck out, or they string you from a street light with barbed wire around your fucking neck, okay, you'll understand that maybe this isn't the place to be really loud about drug dealing or, out of hand. See, like I said, take care of your shit in your own goddamn house and be quiet about it, and John Law ain't going to bother you. And, of course, you'll say, but they kick in doors all the time. No, they don't. No, they don't, you lying motherfuckers. Stop assuming like a goddamn child. They don't go running around kicking in fucking doors everywhere. Alex Jones, you lying sack of shit. They don't do it. I didn't say they didn't do it to somebody like Corey C. or they didn't do it to Raw Dog. I didn't say they don't make you tag your boat on your own fucking property, on your own fucking pond or lake. I didn't say they don't attempt that. I said they don't attempt that with me, and they don't attempt that here. All right. You got to ask yourself basic questions. Why do they not do that there? Well, I don't live where you're at. Why do they do that there? Now, Raw Dog knows the answer, don't you, Raw Dog? I bet you he does. Pontifex knows the answer now. Corey C., I imagine he may or may not. I don't know who Schaefer Report is. Sorry. Don't know. Don't know. Most of these people I don't care about. What I'm saying is I stop by, watch videos, and go, well, that's interesting. At least they're attempting to. And the deal is, if you don't live in my town, I don't give a fuck about you. Because I really have to worry about this for real in the street and dealing with these fucking people. I do, right? Okay, I have to do this. The people have to do this. All right? So, if overnight everybody's an individual, we have to decide, are we going to have that guy do it, or are we all going to cover each other's asses? Well, you can split the middle. If you truly believe you're a citizen of the state and a citizen of the United States, if you truly believe it and you want that choice is yours. And I'll even let it go, and I'll say, okay, it means you are. Even though I know the law much better than that. I'll allow that. That means your cops and stuff, I don't care what laws they enforce upon you. You chose to be a member of the corporation. Suck it up. You chose the models they use. Suck it up. You did it. You wanted it. Okay, how do their rules, since you're a diminutive member, you're just way down on the bottom of the totem pole. And public voting is a waste of fucking time. But it's not a waste of time in your cities and your counties. Okay? The state shit's just a waste of your fucking time. The state and the Fed shit. But anyway, the point is, if you know how it works, then you have to start gearing up on the city councils and at the county levels. And you have to go pull a grand jury and say, I want you to nullify this. I want you to stop this. See, that's what I mean, kids. You forgot what grand juries actually are. And the people forgot. Well, if you're not going to take the time to go down to the courthouse or do anything, go in and talk to the sheriff, or go in, and if you're not going to do it, I don't give a fuck what they do to you. They can kick your fucking door in. You're the one too fucking lazy to do the work. I've always said, money don't make you smart. I ain't got no fucking money, and you don't see me having these fucking problems. And it ain't because I'm a, quote, good citizen, unquote, because I can guarantee you I'm on somebody's shit list somewhere. Anyway, the point being is, if you don't like it where you live, I can't do anything about Chicago. I don't give a fuck about Chicago. That's all there is to it. Now, if the Chinese invade, and Chicago says, dude, we got to have you, my ass is going to Chicago to whack some Chinese. All right, that's all there is to it. Seriously. That's how this works, kids. I don't wait on the military to ask. The city of Chicago or New York or fucking Dallas or somebody goes, oh, man, we're being invaded. We got to have help. Well, if ain't nobody in their fucking own city going to do it, I don't want the shit impacting me. So I'll go to Dallas and whip some ass and then come back home knowing that I've stopped it there for now. And it won't fuck with my town. Aha, now you know why I'm on YouTube. If I stop this socially reconstructive kookery bullshit here with Ron Paul and all these other fucking people, all right, with Jones, with all these fucking whack jobs, it'll never reach here and fuck up my town. and generations upon generations of fucking kids that would have had a shot. All right, so if I can sit on my ass and do YouTube videos, I can also go do real-world work in the fucking street and attempt to make something happen, which I've well done. I've done a bunch of stuff now. I just don't talk about it here. It ain't none of your fucking business. I can tell you my town's a nice town. That's it. I did that. Right? I did that. I invested my own fucking real-world time into this shit. What did you do today? Well, we talked about freedom. Well, good for you. I actually got it. What do you got? And you'll say, again, if nobody's coming and kicking in my door, if you're a United States citizen, a citizen of your state, if they're not kicking in your door, you're free. And if you, for whatever reason, they kick it in, I guess you ain't. See? All right. I'm just saying, it ain't a perfect system that you're in. But here's the deal. Eventually, and the corporation will get tired of it, the United States corporation, the state corporations will get tired of this. So they're going to start splitting up, or they're going to get pissed off, and they're going to start burning people out on individuals. That's coming. Ain't nobody going to stop that. So, yes, you can have your freedom for a little while, those of you that figured out that you were never in it. You'll have it for a little while, right up until you've got mass amounts of fucking heroin dealers and shit trying that stuff too. The sovereign citizen kooks, the fucking free man on the land kooks, the pandering bullshit artists, because they're following right behind the guys that are doing the real work. Me, Psycho Joe, and they're following behind them. And they're intentionally right now perverting work that I've done for a fast buck hook, you know, just to make a fucking fast and quick buck. That being said, so for a little while, you can enjoy your actual freedom as an individual. For a little while. And that will stop just as soon as it gets out of fucking hand. Because if I'm going to bitch at the banks, I'm definitely going to not hold back on some dickhead doing other shit. You know what I mean? Like peddling dope in the school zone. Shit like that, right? Obvious shit like not a dude in his house taking care of his own fucking business. Right? It's kind of obvious there. You're going to have to draw the line. You know what I mean? You. Now, I don't mean the fucking government. I mean you. Where are you going to draw the fucking line? I'm not worried about getting shot. My ass shot. I think I've already taken care of that more than once. Point is, if you ain't going to do it, then I don't want to fucking hear about it. And nobody's doing it, so I guess I don't got to fucking worry about it. Must not be too important to you then, huh? That's right. So I'm going to go do my shit, and you'll do whatever the fuck you want, and I'll come on to YouTube from time to time and laugh. And say, yes, that's a good idea. Yes, you're looking in the right place. Keep going with it. What are you waiting on? A consensus? How did that work? It never did. Not for you, son. But anyway, just wait till they start saying you're doing unlicensed conventions. Ooh, George Washington and them didn't mind fucking killing a bunch of people over that shit. It was okay for them, and it wasn't okay for you. Tell them that story, Alex Jones. Oops. I ain't gonna talk about that. Liberty, licensed and granted liberty. Wee. All right, Biscuit Jones, whatever. Anyway, this is too long. I hope you enjoyed part of it. Those are the game models that they're using. Those were more specific examples, but I'm not going to waste my time explaining example after example. You got to do the work yourself in your own fucking head. And remember, I'm not out here to educate you people. I put the fucking videos up, and I'm doing my work. Okay? It's me by myself, and I'm going in a specific direction to hit people in the head with a ball-peen fucking hammer to eliminate certain problems before they ever get to my town. Okay, do you get this shit? Okay. All right, so that's actually what I'm doing. Those videos are placeholders. Later, I changed up the intros because I had fun with it, and one or two people that I knew stopped by, and it was fun, it was cool, it was great, right? Have a good time. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do this in the real world. I got to put this up here because so-and-so asked me. You know, just a handful of people. Well, it's kind of bloated up, morphed from that, and it wasn't ever my actual intention. But anyway, as I started talking to other people, or other people started asking me questions from time to time, you know, we swapped anecdotes, stories, etc. You know what I mean? Real world stuff. And out here in the video land, what I'm doing now, I don't usually talk about that because that's, like I said, none of your fucking business. It's not. Like I said, if you're not going to do the work, you're definitely not going to learn anything from me. You're just going to try to beat the fucking system and say, I'm free, when you're not, and you get fucked. Okay, so I don't give quick and easy answers because, well, the answers ain't that. And you can ask, ain't that right, Psycho Jelly? They're really fucking simple, and they're really fucking quick. And if you're a dumbass, it'll get you hurt just as fast. So I'm not doing the answer parts. What I'm doing is going a specific fucking direction to get what I need to get done. And I'm sorry to say, I don't. You know, I'm glad you subbed and everything like that, but I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing subs or views. You come through, watch the shit or not, I don't fucking care. I've got a specific objective and aim. And as I do my game theory cycles and everything, I apologize if you consider yourself collateral damage. It's too bad. I mean, that's the way it goes. So people that come through here screaming freedom of speech and I ban their ass out of here, it's because I've got a specific objective I want to get done, and I don't have time for retardation. Okay, I don't got time for that. Okay, so I got to kick them out and keep moving. Kick them out and keep moving. I never mind people sending me videos. Send me your videos. I never mind that. Just remember that I'm spending more and more time, investing more and more time into specific things that may be fruitful later on. Okay? That might, I don't know how you'd say it, that might prove beneficial later on in the real fucking world. Okay? In the real fucking world. So I don't have time to argue with dickheads or do reply videos or anything like that. Just, you got to get over it. You got to, any of the kooks coming through, you got to get the fuck over it. You're wasting my time. I ain't got time for that shit. Okay. Anyway, but I have a specific objective, so that's the way that goes, okay? It was not my intent to educate you. You're supposed to educate your fucking self. Don't ask me questions you should know the answers to, because you need to ask yourself the fucking question, not me. Okay? You have to do it. I did this by myself. I did not have help. I did not get help until way fucking later. Don't you know Psycho Drill and a couple of the others know? Way fucking later, I was already well down the path there where I was wanting to go, and bumped into one or two other people. Well, hello, excuse me, sir. How's it going? You know, and swap a little information and then keep moving because I ain't got time to waste. I don't have time to waste. Got to get it done. You know, I would eventually like to stop doing this. I know you people think I'm fucking crazy. I don't want to do these fucking videos. I don't whatsoever. Okay? I don't want to do it. I do not like these. I'm trying to get a fucking deal done. But at the same time, people ask me questions, and I say, well, fuck. I don't want to do a talking video. But I'll do a talking video. You know what I mean? I'll do a talking video. I do the book videos, me reading out of a book, because other people don't have access or how would you say it? They ain't got time to read, but they got time to listen. You know, somebody that's why I started doing them book videos. You know what I mean? Well, the text is too small on a mobile device or some such shit, right? And I would say, oh, okay, well, in some videos, I'll just talk about it. Is that easier? And they say, well, yes, because I got a long drive to work or whatever, you know. And that was way back when. But I've heard that question asked again, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that a bit. You know, but most of them aren't long enough to do a long video. This one's way too fucking long as it is. I got nothing accomplished in my view. It's inefficient. It opens me to gaming attachments when there doesn't need to be, short of me disabling the comment section, right? So that's why I don't usually do these, because whatever, people try to form attachments whether they think they're on your side or not, or whatever. You get the point. And I don't got time for that shit. That's just long, drawn-out arguments that are actually not for me. Not for me. For others, it's an argument or a debate, quote, debate, unquote. But the deal is, like I said, I didn't intend for this to be what it is. So whatever you people get out of it, you get out of it. I don't. Right? I'm doing it for I am not doing it for the reasons that you think. I definitely ain't doing it for the fucking money. Okay? Anyway, y'all take it easy. I apologize for the length of this. That should give you something to work with in a little bit easier model or way of viewing it. But you got to do the fucking work yourselves. Okay? You got to do it yourselves. I can't do it, and I cannot give you an answer good enough for your mind to get it all. Nor do I know it all to give it to you. That's the fucking point. Why are you asking somebody else? It's you. And I'm not knocking y'all for asking questions. I'm saying you got to ask yourself too. Okay? Not just me. Oh, well, that's the answer. That ain't the fucking answer when you ask me. I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear. The answer that I think you're shooting for. That doesn't mean it's the answer your fucking mind needs. Okay? There is a difference between a want and a fucking need. So I can't spend the amount of time investing upon getting your fucking brain ready. Alright? You gotta do it, buddy. You gotta do it. Alright, anyway, that's it. I would say fuck y'all, but I like y'all, so not fuck y'all.